This meeting is being recorded.
God, I offer myself to you to build with me, to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties. That victory over them may bear witness to those I will help of your power, your love, and your way of life. May I do your will always. My name is Brenda. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Paula. I'm very happy to be here with you this evening. Ali, thank you for the invitation. And you know how they say if you stay sober, you can make use of people's experiences. I just heard Ali say he got hurt at the gym. That's why I ain't going. I mean, I was gonna start this week, like, okay, so it's already Tuesday, but I was gonna start like Thursday, I think, you know, but he tore, I think he said pecs. I don't even know where those are, but I don't need them torn, okay? So Ali, thank you for saving me some pain, all right? That's good already. Welcome to all of you. Especially those of you who are mad and didn't want to be here, but your sponsor made you come. I have folks on here that I consider friends and people I journey with, people which reminds me. Paula P. from Champaign, Illinois is the only reason I am sober today. I want to be like her when I grow up. Stop reading. Okay. No one made me say that. I said that of my own free will. Those of you who've already heard me and came back, you've been warned. I don't know what to tell you. You know, those of you who are new, your sponsor will explain it tomorrow. I'd like to start off with the important stuff up front. I did shave for this meeting. Holly, why are you covering your mouth? Because I shaved or because I told everybody on the meeting? Oh, you're drinking? Yeah. I am glad to be here. I got on a flight from Southwest Airlines. I was flying from here in Texas out to Arizona. It was a long time ago. And the flight attendant comes on and goes, hey, everybody sit back, relax. We're going to have a 1 hour and 42-minute flight out to Arizona. Or you can lean forward and be uptight, but either way, we're not getting to Arizona for 1 hour and 42 minutes. And I love that because that's a choice I have every day at every meeting. Hey, y'all, I'm about to share for 40 minutes. You can sit back and relax, or you can sit up and be tense and uptight. Either way, I'm going to talk for 40 minutes. And those of you who have heard me talk know I don't spend a lot of time out in the weeds. I don't spend a lot of time out in the weeds, especially when I get invited to come to a meeting on my relationship with God, which is what the step 11 means and has been for me the entire time I've been sober. I got sober 32 years ago by the grace of God. And the passage out of the book says this, all those who have persisted, I'm assuming they're talking about all of us here. But it says, all those who have persisted have found strength not ordinarily their own. They have found wisdom beyond their usual capability. And they have increasingly found a peace of mind that can stand firm in the face of any difficulty. That's the good news. Y'all are going to be shocked, but apparently I'm having trouble with relationships. It's been reported. So I decided I was going to trust God and move forward in my relationship. So I got some plants, y'all. I actually think they can hear me. I got a eucalyptus plant. I don't know why I got a eucalyptus plant. Like, if you can't pronounce it, you really shouldn't own it, I don't think. But I came out this morning and I look out on the patio to see who's alive still, because I don't know how to take care of plants. And the eucalyptus looked over at me and went. So I got my phone out and I'm like, how to take care of eucalyptus. And it said you had to be careful about the pot you put it in. You had to be careful about the soil you use, and you had to be putting it on a regular watering schedule. I just opened the door of the patio and I told her, look, I don't think you will make it, but you look beautiful today. That's the kind, my sponsor says relationships are like plants. If you're not a water every day kind of person, don't get a relationship that needs water every day. So apparently somebody's not going to make it. And I will, from this day forward, for a minute, still be picking up only succulents. Okay, because apparently they're fine without me. Those are the kind of relationships I need. So anyway, there's hope. There's hope for you. I used to walk around Alcoholics Anonymous like I knew what all the words meant. I didn't know what all the words meant. And so when people were talking, half the time I didn't know what they were talking about because I didn't know what the words meant. So one of the words I'm going to use today, by the way, I'm only talking about me. So I don't have to spend a whole 40 minutes saying, and in my experience, and based on what I know, I'm talking about me. Conscious. Like, I should know what that means. If I'm going to be in a conscious contact with God, I should know what that means. I looked it up in the dictionary, and one of the definitions says, aware of and responding to. Aware of and responding to. And the synonym it used was awake. That's the kind of relationship I want with God. That's the kind of relationship I have with God. A relationship where I am awake. And the other word, which is, a bad word when you're newly sober, the word persist. The word persist in the dictionary, one of the definitions says to continue stubbornly. I knew they were talking to me. To continue stubbornly on a course of action in spite of difficulty, opposition, and failure. And that is the nature of my relationship with God. Those of you who take notes, I'm sorry, I usually go back and repeat, but I don't have time. I got 40 minutes, I got to go. So when I stopped drinking alcohol, I sobered up physically. That happened to me the first year I was here. I stopped drinking alcohol and I sobered up physically. What I want to talk about now is the other 31 years. Then what happened? And so what I know is that the steps, retreats, workshops, step studies, book studies, times with my sponsees, all of those things have been put in place to help me do three things. One is to maintain my physical sobriety. So all those things are in place to help me maintain my physical sobriety. One is to connect me to the world I walk around in. I walked around in a world where all I could see was me and my needs and my perspective. And what the steps and the workshops and sponsors and all that are about is helping me figure out how to walk around the world that you're in too. I used to have a friend who said a sponsor told him, until you get your own planet, you're going to have to figure out how to work it out in this one. And I completely understand that. So one of the reasons that I have that is to maintain sobriety, to connect me. The other one, though, the biggest reason that I go and do all those things and then those things work in my life is because they're trying to help me create a relationship with a power greater than me. That's it. Like, they're trying to help me get to a place where I can connect to a power greater than me. Once I find that power, the task changes again. Once I have a power by which I can live and move around the world and solve my problems and surrender to, then the task changes again. Now the task is to live to good purpose, with good purpose, for good purpose, on good purpose. That means that everything I say, everything I do, everything I surrender, everything I write about, everything that I engage in, I do so for the bigger purpose. Like if I'm not using my life to make life better for the people around me, it's of no use to me at all either. And I'm here to tell you that I'm your speaker tonight because I'm probably the one among us who needs the most help. I might very well be the one among us who continuously falls short of the ideals. But apparently that doesn't matter to God. Apparently all he needs is somebody who will persist. So I'd like to practice persisting at the group conscience. I like to practice persistence with the person who puts the meeting under stress. I like to practice persistence in the places, I taught myself how to meditate. I would put on headphones and blare the loudest, most obnoxious music and figure out if I could lower my blood pressure and slow my breathing. That's how I learned how to meditate. Because anybody can get quiet when it's quiet. I had to figure out how to get quiet and get centered and slow my heart rate and my breathing when all is too loud, when all feels lost, when all feels too much. And so just know that I'm here this evening because when God called roll this morning, I said here. And when God gets up in the morning, he said, I'm gonna need like 7 people to go. I'm like, I'll do it. I don't even know what we're gonna do. It doesn't really matter. Because wherever I look, here's the thing. Here's why I raised my hand to do whatever it is God wants me to do in the morning, because he's gonna be there. He's not going to go drop me off somewhere. He's not going to go drop me off in my grief. He's not going to go drop me off in the desert. He's not going to go drop me off in yesterday. He's not going to go drop me off in my pain. God's going with me. That's why I raised my hand. I'll go. 31 years. I don't have the same year over and over and over and over and again. I have 31 years. I'm making new mistakes. That should be good news, but for a long time, I made the same old mistakes, but I'm making new mistakes. I'm awake, I'm alive, I'm grateful, I'm connected, and I do know how to live a life where I can let other people be wrongerous than me and not have to punish them for that. I don't have to walk around with a label maker labeling everything. I don't have to walk around in my lack. I don't have to walk around disconnected. You know what I'm trying to do? I all of these steps and all this are trying to help me let go of fear. It is the only thing standing between me and God. There is nothing else left between there. Now, what used to be in there was my opinion, my history, my this, my that, my that. Now what's left in the space between me and God is fear. And I don't even have to give it to God. I don't have to give my fear to God. I just have to let it go. That's different. And I'm like, I can't give this to God. Listen, do y'all know people who clean before the maid comes? What in the fresh hell is that about? I'm about to pay somebody, let them pick it up. I'm like, I got to straighten up before the maid comes. I'm like, ooh. Now that the way that felt familiar to me was I was going to give it to God as soon as I got it worked out. I was going to give it to God as soon as I found a solution, as soon as I could package it and put a bow on it, because I didn't want to give it to God to fix it. I wanted to give it to God so he can congratulate me on doing his job for him. And the result was nil. You should probably know that. And the result was nil until I let go absolutely. I teach school and we teach kids how to use these benchmark fractions. Yeah, so that they know that 1/4 equals 25 cents. and a half equals 50 cents. And they can orient themselves to the number line based on the benchmarks. Then when they look at something like 1.6 or 0.33, they kind of have an idea of where it is because of the benchmarks. I have those in my sobriety. I have these 4 questions that I have been asking myself, not just the 32 years I've been sober, but for all the years before that as well. These are the benchmarks. These are the questions that I ask myself about relationships, about jobs, about trips, about all of it. Here are my benchmarks. Number 1, is this thing, this job, this grief, this God, is this thing bringing me closer to God or further away from God? My sponsor told me at the beginning that that's really the only question that I should ask about relationships. I decided quickly I needed to get another sponsor. Is this bringing me closer to God or taking me further away from God? Now, here's another one. Number 2, is my spiritual practice making my life roomier or is it making my life smaller? Am I meditating and walking and praying and sponsoring and all that, and my life is getting smaller and smaller, and they're doing it wrong, and they shouldn't have worn that, and why are they smoking on Zoom, and why, and and I'm left with me and my disease? Is my life getting smaller? Something's wrong for me in my life if my life is getting smaller as I try and make an approach to God. By the way, look, I'm going to tell y'all something. This is free too. People say all the time, how do I know if I'm in my will or God's will? Look, it's not geometry. Here's what I found out. When I get to the end of a situation and I apparently only have one answer. If I would try to figure out, do I keep my job or not? And I only have one answer. I'm in self-will. But if I ask the question, should I stay at my job or not? And then I have like 7 answers, I'm in God's will. My will only leave me with one option. You know, my disease, I heard somebody say recently, my disease wants to kill me, but it will settle for me being drunk. So the first question, does this bring me closer or further away from God? The second one, is my life roomier? The third one, can I do now what I could not do then? Look, I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and the end of every fight looked the same. I would say every cuss word I knew in English, then I'd take out all my Spanish cuss words, then I'd slam the door, then I'd flip you off, and then I'd, so like all my arguments ended the same way. It's a problem. If I'm 32 years sober, still ending conversations like that. It's a problem for me. If all I knew how to do is listen to my own voice and I'm 32 years sober and I'm still thinking I'm the best voice to listen to, there's a problem with that. If I get up every day and only consider what it is that I want to do and how can I be comfortable in this day, I got here knowing how to do that. So that's a big question. Do I now have the power to do the things I couldn't do when I got here? Like, pause. Is anybody else confused by pause? Just, I mean, y'all don't have to show your hands, but like, that's a confusing word, pause. What the hell do you mean pause? If I pause, they're going to think they're right. They're like, no, they're just going to take a breath, which is probably something you should do too, Brenda. And so, look, I hate people who come share their experience, strength, and hope and start meddling in my business. It's like, you just talk about you. Don't you come over here and be talking about me. But do I know how to forgive? Do I know how to wait? Do I know how to hope? On the cloudy days, in the rain. I had a woman I was sponsoring one time and her daughter was killed in a car wreck. And her boyfriend at the time called me and said, could you come over? We just got the news and stuff. And I walked in, I went over to her house and walked into her bedroom, and she got up from the bed where she was sitting and started screaming at me. She goes, where's your God now? Why would God do this? I've surrendered. And I mean, just understandably, just completely grief stricken. And I remember that I said to her, what was true about God this morning when we all woke up is still true about God right now. And the last benchmark question, can I move around my life in the knowledge that I'm okay and that I'm enough? Can you imagine how different my life would be if I woke up every morning and knew that I was okay and I was enough? Well, I'm here to tell you that has been my experience for a really, really long time. I stopped talking to me in a way that made me want to beat myself up. I don't use derogatory terms for myself. I don't use the word should when I'm referring to anything that I'm doing or thinking. I don't treat myself as someone who is standing outside of the grace of God anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I get up every morning, come hell or high water, whether I am standing in the light or in the dark, whether there's music or only silence, and I treat myself like I'm God's kid. I say to my friends all the time, I say, when they say whatever, I'll say, hey, be good to my friend Holly. Be good to my friend Paula. Be good to my friend Ali. There was this guy and he traveled all over the world, and he was in search of the secret of life. And he went to like all of the holy places and met with all the holiest and highest of peoples and all that. And when he came back, he was on TV one day. When he came back, they asked him, what did you figure out? What did you learn from that whole experience? And he said, I learned one thing. And I'm like, wow, dude, he went away, did all that and learned one thing until I heard the thing he learned. And what he learned was that life was short. So all that stuff I'm going to do next year, that conversation that I'm going to have with my sister with whom I have been estranged, I'm going to do that in like 3 years. I'm going to finish my 9th step amends after the holidays. I'm going to pay back the money I stole as soon as I get a new job. I'm going to work on my capacity to surrender after I pick up my next chip. It all sounds really good. Except it doesn't take into account all the time that life is short. You know who should be able to tell that I'm sober? The people in my home group. The ones who have to see me all the time, the ones who have to listen to me all the time, they should be the ones that should be able to tell you whether or not I'm sober. I was living in Tampa one time and this kid, I went to a deli at one of the grocery stores and he smiled at me and stuff. So I just said hello and I got what I needed or whatever. And he says to me, he goes, hey, thanks for not being an ass. And I'm like, who said that about me? Somebody in produce? What's going on? He said, no. He said, I heard you talk at AA last Thursday. But sometimes I hear people talk at AA and then they come in here and they're just a real ass. So thanks for not being an ass. So I told that boy the truth. You just caught me on a good day. Come on now. I don't know why I'm gonna tell you the story. I don't think I've ever told it. So I was living in San Antonio also, and there was a guy that had like 40 years sober at the time, and he had this thing about that they shouldn't bring newcomers in vans to the meeting. And so it created a huge division, because not only did he feel that they shouldn't bring the newcomers in the van to the meetings, he also would shame the other people who thought that the newcomers should be at the meeting and should be able to speak. Those are the kind of things that make Alcoholics Anonymous little. And people would ask me all the time, what do we do? What do we do about this guy? We can't get rid of him. He knows the traditions. So this is what I tell them. And I don't know why I'm conveying this information to you tonight, but so I said to him, I said, in the first tradition and in the ninth traditions, it tells us we don't have to do nothing with this dude. It says if we deviate too far, if we wander too far off, away from spiritual principles, we will sicken, and our punishment will be sure and swift. We'll sicken and die. They're like, we have to wait for him to die? I'm like, no, we have to be the example of that something greater thing until he dies. And then it says, we already have 2 disciplinarians in AA. And it says we have to, we don't need any other disciplinarians in AA. And then the tradition, it says they are great suffering and great love. And there's this trust that I will move around Alcoholics Anonymous, move around my world, move around life, compelled by either great suffering or great love. And it's been my experience that those who do in fact deviate from spiritual principles in a minute aren't with us. And then the worst thing that could have happened. The worst thing wasn't that they were sitting in meetings being dumbasses. That's not the worst part. The worst part is that then they suffered from their alcoholism and they died in the rooms. There's a woman I know whose father was sober for 40 years and he put a gun in his mouth. And they asked her sometime later, what do you think happened? I mean, he was going to meetings and sponsoring people and speaking at conferences, and like, what happened? And she said, I think he had a moment of pride that wouldn't let him ask for help. That's not gonna be me. That's not gonna be me. It's not me today. It's not gonna be me tomorrow. I'm willing to bring all the laundry out here and let you look at it, because it doesn't serve me any good if I keep it all to myself. Being connected to God, being awake in that relationship has brought me to some profound truths. I have 3 of them, profound truths that have come to me as a result of my relationship with God and the way that we have built that together. Number 1, I am responsible. I am fully responsible for the physical, emotional, and spiritual experience I'm having in this lifetime. I am responsible for that. It's not them. Number 2, ignoring something will not make it go away. That's the same for like relationships and rash. Oh my God, I was about to overshare. Woo! Woo, thank you. Okay, so there you go. And the 2 places I can always find God. I love to sit in meetings. It's like, I've been looking for God. I don't know where he is. I'm gonna tell you where God is. I find him in 2 places. 1, I can always find God at the intersection of here and now. He's just hanging out. I go looking for him in the past and he's like, what you doing over there? Like, that's finished. 3rd grade is over. They're not coming. They're not coming to apologize. They're not coming to make amends. 3rd grade ended. Come on. God is always trying to drag me into the here and now. That's why he waits for me there. And the other place, look, talk about the last place I was looking for the dude. The other place I can always find God is in the pile of my problem. I keep my problems in a little pile. And then I'll start pulling them away from each other. See what kind of problem I still have. Do I still have this problem? And they're not looking, there's God. I'm like, hey. He's like, hey. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm just working on a couple of things for you. And I'm like, do you need any help? He's like, no, I don't need no help. We're good. No. God is always in the pile of my problems. I don't know to look for him there. But all of a sudden, I start to get help. I start to get free. I start to awaken. And then I think I did it. I think I did it. I'm going to end with this. Somebody asked me recently they said to me, if you could describe what your childhood felt like, what word would you use? I thought about it for a minute and I said, hunted. That's what my childhood felt like. Like I was being hunted. So here's the proof of everything I just said to you. I'm either 56 or 57. I don't know. I teach math. Did I mention? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I'm 32 years sober, 18 years in Al-Anon, and I want you to know that I have just now come upon some work that feels like a grenade goes off inside me every day. I sometimes am in so much pain that I literally double over on the floor and throw up from the pain that I'm experiencing, from the work that needs to be done now, from this thing that has been brought forth. There was only one thing I knew to do with that kind of pain. There has always been this one thing I know to do when I'm in the kind of pain that I'm in today. I know to drink at that, to leave. That's what I know to do with that pain. Leave in all the forms that I can. But that is no longer the truth. That is no longer the truth, that is the only thing I know how to do with this pain now. Because now I know how to wait. I know how to hope. I know how to love. I know how to speak the truth. I know how to ask for help. I know how to wait on my own tears. I learned how to get out of my way and leave myself enough room and enough space to have the experience that God is calling me to. Now I know how to do all of that with the pain I'm in. And above all things, I have learned to persist. I already know what I get from quitting. I already know what I get from using. I already know what I get from relenting, but I oftentimes don't know what I get from persisting. And so my hope for you is that tonight and tomorrow and the day after, that you will find your own way in your own life to do one more thing in a continuous and stubborn way. And that somewhere in the middle of the pile of your problems, you might also catch a glimpse of the grace of God. Almost any experienced AA will tell how his affairs have taken remarkable and unexpected turns for the better as he has tried to improve his conscious contact with God. He will also report that out of every season of grief or suffering, when the hand of God seemed heavy or even unjust, new lessons for living were learned, new resources of courage were uncovered, and finally, inescapably, the conviction has come that God does move in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. That's it for me. Thank you. God be with you.